work that the team here is doing, because it's not only looking at making sure that the skills that are being taught are relevant and meaningful and getting to a place that are beneficial, but really taking on the task of trying to solve for problem behavior. With the work of Dr. Hanley's group and others here, it's not just about managing problem behavior, it's really trying to solve for it. And you solve for it through skill development. And there's such a good collaboration between the projects, because what we talk about as you're starting to think about the skills that need to be taught, not just the tolerate, not just the communication, but the tolerating, the accepting, the removal, the sharing, the completing activities that are essential, that are required. And that takes a very specific lens and a context, and the family and the clinical team to sit down and say, where are these going? Where are these going? Where do we ultimately want this learner to perform, to live, to exist? Not just from the beginning, let's get started and see where it goes. We really need to think about that. And when we get into Essential for Living and we get into some of these procedures you hear about, we are very much knowing that context is everything. You learn, you understand behavior in context, you teach it in context, and oftentimes it doesn't generalize out of the context which it's taught. And so it's so critical that we get all that right. So as we go through today is in looking at some of these teaching procedures, ask the questions, think about the context, think about the things that you've tried to teach, think about some of the precision, because oftentimes we find it easier to get people comfortable what skills should be taught, but then there's that piece of, do I know how to teach them? Is my repertoire up to the task of teaching that? Is my organization up to the task of supporting that development around the competencies related to teaching individuals with challenging with limited repertoires, but also challenging behavior? And when that's real and they're real close together, they affect safety, they affect who comes to work, who stays at work, who enjoys their work. And this is very much for us, not just, we're going to talk about the individual and the people supporting them, but this very much is about the learner, the family, and the community. Because we want to make sure, too, that we're responsible not only with our science, but with the money that's afforded us to do what we can do. And we want to make sure we're just not interested in what we could teach. We need to focus on what we must teach.